You're watching Southern New England's trusted news source, ABC 6. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on ABC 6 News. If you haven't heard by now, we had a battery fire at the ABC 6 studios in downtown Providence. It happened Friday. So we're coming to you in a different format for the time being. We invite you to visit abc6.com and check us out on Twitter and Facebook for the latest news throughout the day. For now, let's get right to our top story.
It's frustrating, but there's not much you can really do about it. It is what it is at the end of the day.
Passengers taking to ABC 6 News at TF Green after thousands of holiday plans were dashed by Southwest Airlines. A lot of Rhode Islanders still dealing with that travel trouble. ABC 6 News anchor Olivia DeRocha spoke to a travel expert from AAA to find out what you can do if this happens to you.
Massive flight disruptions, mainly with Southwest Airlines, leaving thousands and thousands of flyers stranded nationwide and in the Northeast on Tuesday.
So, in the Northeast, this is something that we see every winter. But right now, Southwest is dealing with a perfect storm.
Southwest canceling more than 2,500 flights across the country, accounting for over 87% of all cancellations.
The issues are being compounded by staffing shortages, route changes, and then also the flu that's impacting all of us is also impacting the airline crews.
Chuck Nardoza with AAA Northeast says there are things you can do to prepare for this mess, even if your flight is days away or if you're flying on another airline.
To protect yourself with trip insurance, because there's a lot of unexpected expenses that come up in a situation like this. And the airlines do not have to put you up in a hotel. They do not have to cover your meals. So trip insurance will help.
According to Insure My Trip, the cost of travel insurance costs about 4 to 10% of your total prepaid trip, and some companies even let you purchase that leading right up to the flight.
You're waiting in line and have an alternate route set up, have some other options. If you can prepare them with some options, it will just make things go a little bit smoother.
According to TF Green's website on Tuesday, 10 arrivals and 12 departures to the airport have been canceled. In Providence, Olivia DeRocha, ABC 6 News.
Those travel troubles only made worse by this weekend's weather. Meantime, the death toll from that winter blast in Buffalo now at 51. Residents there are still digging out. Here's ABC's Alexis Christoforous.
The death toll rising after the monster storm that pounded western New York in what Governor Kathy Hochul is calling the blizzard of the century.
This blizzard is the one for the ages.
Authorities saying the dead found in cars, homes, and snowbanks. Some died while shoveling snow. Others when first responders couldn't respond in time to medical emergencies. Neighbors turning to one another for life-saving help.
I'm coming.
Buffalo resident Shakira Autry took in 64-year-old Joseph White Saturday after hearing his calls for help outside her home.
I found him screaming for help. When I looked out the window, he was getting blowed up and down the street. It was out of control.
These residents opening up their home to visitors from half a world away after a knock on their door.
They said, we're part of a tour group from South Korea, and we have 10 people in our vehicle. And I said, get all of them inside our house right now.
Roads still impassable. Forklifts used to clear abandoned vehicles. And the city's airport shuttered until at least Wednesday. As police were stuck elsewhere, looters got to work, smashing store windows and stealing merchandise.
Law enforcement's been working on life-saving. We have the worst storm probably in our lifetime and maybe in the history of the city and our community. And to see this happening is just terrible.
The historic storm throwing a knockout punch to holiday travel. Southwest Airlines hit the hardest, with at least 70% of its flights canceled Monday. The Department of Transportation says it will examine whether those cancellations were controllable. Alexis Christoforous, ABC News, New York.
Your forecast looks bright and sunny as we look forward to the next several days. There is, of course, one exception, which we'll get to in just a second. So as we take a look outside, we are finding, well, a decently mainly clear sky. But that's going to change as we go into the overnight. We will be building in some clouds, but don't fret, we're not expecting any precipitation from them. We have this weak area of low pressure that's going to be breezing through northern New England, and it's going to come close enough to us to throw us a couple of clouds as we go through overnight tonight and for tomorrow as well. But again, we are expecting dry conditions thanks to a distant area of high pressure. So our forecast as we go through tonight, we are going to see clear to mainly clear skies, and then we'll get to early tomorrow. That's when we'll start to see some of those clouds move in. Temperatures are going to drop off for one more cold morning, as lows will likely start tomorrow in the lower 20s, even the upper teens in areas north and west of the city. Now, there is a good stretch coming our way where temperatures are going to do a nice little warm up, and I'll tell you more about that coming up in just a couple minutes.
Now to an ABC6 News update. The state fire marshal now investigating after a fire broke out inside of a garage in Foster overnight. This happened on Plainfield Pike. Fire officials tell ABC6 News they believe a propane tank may have played a role in that fire. Thankfully, no one was hurt. We're told that house attached to the garage was not damaged. In local political news, outgoing Bristol County Sheriff Thomas Hodgson meeting with Sheriff-elect Paul Hero for a tour of his new stomping grounds. Hodgson lost to Hero back in November after serving in that role as sheriff for 25 years. Hero getting the opportunity to meet officers and staff. Hero speaking on how equipped he is to take on the role.
Yeah, I worked for 2 years at the Philadelphia jail system. I worked directly for the commissioner. After that, I worked for a year and a half at the Mass Department of Correction as director of research and planning. There's a reason for everything, especially in a place highly controlled like a jail or a prison and corrections.
This was Hero's first time looking inside the facility.
Yeah, I worked for 2 years at the Philadelphia jail system. I worked directly for the commissioner. After that, I worked for a year and a half at the Mass Department of Correction as director of research and planning. There's a reason for everything, especially in a place highly controlled like a jail or a prison and corrections.
This was Hero's first time looking inside the facility. Some changes coming to Providence Public Safety as Mayor-elect Brett Smiley gets ready to take office. Police Chief Hugh Clements was asked to stay on, but the Mayor-elect's office says he'll be stepping down to, quote, pursue an exciting opportunity. Meantime, Public Safety Commissioner Stephen Paré will be retiring at the start of next year. Smiley's office says he will not fill that spot immediately. The vacant fire chief spot will also be filled for the first time since 2015. The mayor-elect appointing current assistant chief Derek Silva. In national political news, a Republican congressman-elect sending shockwaves through New York after admitting he lied on his resume. But he says that won't stop him from taking office. Here's ABC's Elizabeth Schulze.
In a stunning reversal, New York Republican Congressman-elect George Santos now admits he embellished large parts of his resume. Santos speaking out to City and State NY's Sky Ostreicher, saying he's sorry, but won't step down.
I'm not resigning. I have to leave Congress, Sky. It's going to be by a pink slip by the voters November of 2024.
A New York Times investigation last week found Santos lied about everything from his education to his work on Wall Street to his family background. Santos telling voters his grandparents survived the Holocaust and fled to Brazil.
My grandparents survived the Holocaust, so these regimes of socialism, Marxism, they don't work.
He now says he's clearly Catholic, only referring to himself as Jew-ish. Santos also admitting he lied about working at Goldman Sachs and Citigroup and about graduating from Baruch College. Still, top Republicans are staying silent about the revelations as they rely on Santos as part of their new narrow majority in the House. Democrats pouncing.
We need answers from George Santos. He appears to be a complete and utter fraud.
Santos did not answer specific questions about his finances. Campaign finance disclosures raised questions about how his wealth quickly accumulated ahead of the 2022 campaign. Elizabeth Schulze, ABC News, Washington.
We now know the mother accused of abandoning her newborn son in the woods in New Hampshire is the daughter of a former Red Sox broadcaster. 26-year-old Alexandra Eckersley is accused of giving birth in a tent in Manchester and then left that baby there, allegedly misled first responders about where the baby was. Now, according to our sister station, WCVB, she's the daughter of MLB Hall of Famer Dennis Eckersley. Alexandra is facing a felony reckless conduct charge. We have an update for you on some of the horses who were surrendered to the MSPCA in what they're calling their largest single surrender of horses in recent memory. The MSPCA says 9 of those horses are now ready to be adopted. The other 9 are still recovering, but an MSPCA spokesperson says they are expected to be ready soon. There's still more news and weather to come tonight on ABC 6 News. Stay with us.